Hello, my name is Allegra Hicks, and I will be showing you Right Choice Air Reservation. Let me share my screen. I already have it running now. Okay, so my group and I came up with this idea of coming up with this air reservation system. We already have pre-populated username and password already, so I'm going to use mine as an example for you. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. So now that I'm in, let's take a scenario of I have a family of four with two adults, one child, one infant. We're going to select an airport. Let's say we're leaving from Cleveland and we're going to San Diego. The departing date, let's make it to where we're leaving on Halloween. We do need a return flight and let's return date to, let's say, around the 20th. Submit that. Okay. So here's our departing flight that we can select, and here's also our return flight that we can select. So we're going to hit continue there. Okay. All right. And in this page here, I'm actually just adding those travelers again. So myself, I'm just going to select I'm an adult. Let's see, birthday. That's fine. 2, 3, 4. 4. This traveler. Next person can be Elmo Brown. Select that. Do a child birthday of have this traveler. Just adding travelers at this point.
No, I think you can submit, but then
I'm sorry.
it says that you could submit, so I guess that's like the only travelers we can
Oh,
add. And but then we can,
okay.
yeah.
Yes. So our team and I was able to get to this point. Just with the time we weren't able to continue with going to the confirmation page of adding those travelers. But we were able to get to this point in the
Yes.
project.
So now go over Allegra, the back end, what we did, the code, and let everybody say what they did.
Okay. So I can start with myself with the back end. So we use a Spring framework to get this going. I have my hands in the airplane controller with the help of Gilbert as well. I had my hands in the payment controller. I've had my hands in the front end portion of that with helping Loris as well. With another one of my teammates here. We can scroll down here of all this HTML that we had going on here. But I'm going to pass it along to another backend peer of mine. I already mentioned Gilbert, so I'm gonna let him take over from what he actually accomplished in this project.
Gilbert, you're muted, dude. If you're
Hello? Okay.
okay, there you go.
All right. So basically, with this backend the project I did, I made airplane, the airplane class, the model. I made an airplane, and in the airplane, I set the ID so that I'd be able to get the airplane. I set the manufacturer of the airplane, and I set the airplanes to a type, which you will see later on. And all of this was based around future ideas. And you have a thing a public void for when they book their seats, and if the seats is already booked. So, and with the Boeings, what I did with the Boeings is that I made them extend airplanes so that we can have multiple airplanes and have to cover all the flights that we needed to have and have that set up. And also with that, I set them up so that you can sort them by size, by type, 737 and 767, and whether the 767 is the medium and the 777 will be the large. That would be based upon if the size of the airport, if it could actually take that size of airplane. Also, I had my hand in a little bit of flight booking, and I think that's pretty much for all the work that I did on the back end, besides helping out the rest of the team when they needed help.
Awesome.
And I guess I can pass this next one to Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked on the user and creating a user. Let me go ahead and just share my screen, actually. Be a little easier. So I worked on creating the account for the user, and if you put in an account for someone that already has an email address in the database, it checks, and then it also checks and validates the user so that the user can log into the website. So since William Scanlon 1 at Gmail wasn't in the database already, it created a new user. You can log in with that new user, and then it pulls the information from that new user over into the user dates page that allowed it to populate the user that was logged in. From there, I designed the logout so that the logout redirects you back to our index, and then from the index you can search flights. Which wasn't quite set up all the way. And then I think that's about all I handled.
Okay, good. Who's next, Will?
Who's next?
We have Gil.
Back in, I'm saying we
Yeah,
have George Gill, we have
And
Cameron
Cameron.
Meyer.
Okay, let's go with Gil first. Go ahead, Gil.
I worked on flight information controller, model flight information, populators, and repositories for the flight information and the flight information services. In the flight model, in flight information, I put in all the information regarding that seats we needed, or the traveler needs it, and also set all the dynamic prices, like from here. As the seats keep filling, the rate would go up. And it will save all the information in populator and repositories. In the front end, I worked on flight information, errors, flight information index, and search flight page. And the rest
So I assisted with the flight information populator as well as the model page. I did create the flight origin page, destination origin page, that's populator, model, as well as the location model. So what I did was made sure I had flight origin destination info, extend location, so we could grab certain information from there. Gilbert mentioned the airplanes earlier. I kind of created the airports to make sure that certain planes can go in certain places. So I made booleans for that to make sure that would work properly. I made sure to get the arrival time and all that information in there as well, so we could do a relationship with flight information to be able to pull all that information. If you want to go down to the flight info populator and the normal populator for me, there, the one above it. George did most of a lot of the code in there to get it started. I was the one that started working on the flights, making sure all the time was proper, making sure everything was going to the proper place, making sure those flights had the proper dates and times, as you can see right there. Also in the flight origin destination populator, I did something very similar. You don't have to show that, George. I did something very similar so we could pull that information out. I also made sure to combine them in the flight origin destination info populator and flight information populator. And now I believe I'm throwing it over to Loris to expand.
Wait, before you do that, Cam, I want to show people something. George, can you do me a favor? Can
Yes,
you bring up the terminal, like push it up a little bit so we can talk about the order? So push that up and then go up. Can you discuss, George, what we're doing here? What is this, what we're doing here?
so we have populators that run an order, like they don't go like here and there. So first we run the airline populator. After we are done that, then we first all orders are like order number ones are like uh, uh, executed. After that, order number twos are executed and fetch all the information from those populators. In the end, the order number three is populated where all our data is stored.
So
For
George,
the
what is the difference between order number 1 and order number 2 and 3? What are order number 2 and 3 doing?
order number one is that saves the initial populators, and
Okay,
order numbers twos are like relational populators,
exactly. Yep.
and order number three is the last populator, like the flight booking, where all the flight booking information is stored in there.
Okay, so then in order 2 and 3 is where we're making our relationships between our different entities.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Now you can pass it to Lars if you want.
Yes, and I'll stop sharing my screen too. Lars, it's yours now.
Yes. Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm Lars, and I'm going to show what I did. I did most of the front end work for the project, including the HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. You've already seen most of the pages. The sign in and sign up, I co-opted with Will Scanlon. I also co-opted with a couple other team members, but I'll go ahead and show you the pages that we weren't able to access. One of them was the plane, where once you select your airport, it would then designate you to a plane. You can select your seats, first class, business class, and your economy class. Let's say if you make a mistake, you can hit reset. Goes back to 0 and you can start over. Then you would submit. And then the next page where you would be making your payment would be here, where you would put in your payment information. We accept these major credit cards, hit submit, and then it would give you your confirmation and then send it to an email. I feel like we did a lot of great work. We made a lot of great progress, but just unfortunately, we didn't have enough time to get it from beginning to end, but I still feel like we got a great project. With that, I'll hand it back to our team lead.
Thank you. Just piggybacking off what Loris just mentioned, we had a great idea, a huge idea. I think the idea was very huge for junior developers that just came out of a boot camp, but we did make it that far.